This next-gen demo is presented by State Farm. All right, Rev 3 Games at E3 here at the VivaTouch booth. We have another Xbox One game. We are joined by PJ Esteves, who is design director for RYSE over at the well-acclaimed Crytek Studios.
Yes, that's us.
So when we first got a sense of this game, we knew very little about it. It was presented as Kinect only.
Yes.
That seems to have changed considerably in the ensuing years.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So I mean, we originally started out with Kinect, and we probably, we built what I think is the best navigation model I've ever seen on Kinect. So we built a really killer navigation model. We had combat, working, and then we kind of just hit this point where we're like, okay, where do we go from this? What is this? How do we get gameplay out of the Kinect? I mean, real gameplay, right? Like, we're core gamers, and so you kind of hit a point where, I always tell everyone, it's like you have a room full of 100 people, and you're like, all right, each of you row a boat. And everyone rows a boat in a different way, And so what you end up doing is you end up kind of building a game where you teach people how to interface with Kinect rather than just be immersed in the experience and enjoy the game.
Now, do you think there's kind of an endemic problem with motion and core gaming? Obviously, there's a lot of applicability for motion gaming.
Well, I mean, I'm the type of designer, I love crazy problems to try to solve. So I think at some point someone is going to figure out something really slick. I mean, we did prototypes with using the Kinect with head tracking and a controller, and we found some really good results. But I mean, it was just the timeline for the game that we wanted to make. It just wasn't in the cards. And we were really democratic about it. Crytek, we really prototype the heck out of the stuff we do. We do a lot of iterations, and so we had 3 very distinct builds. One build that was purely Kinect, one that was Kinect plus controller, one that was just controller. And then basically what happened is the team was 30-30-30 split. So we're like, all right, well, let's make a third-person game because we've never done it before. And that was the kind of catalyst that kind of got us into the third-person action adventure. So,
all right, well, let's take a look at the game.
Sure.
Because when we did see it at the Xbox One press conference, or the Xbox press conference, it didn't seem exactly clear sort of what the interactivity was. We did see some button prompts on top, but I guess with this in mind here, what we're looking at, what is sort of the setting and the story behind RYSE?
So, I mean, obviously it's set in ancient Rome, and you play Marius Titus, who starts out the game as a legionnaire, and his father was a great general of Rome. But what happens is his family is massacred in front of him, so he goes on this quest for revenge. It's very Roman, tale of revenge. And so he goes in kind of to the depths of Britannia, but he has to come back to Rome till he can finally complete his, quest for vengeance. And so you kind of get an idea. We go from Rome into Britannia and back to Rome to kind of finish the game. But the general idea is that, it's a very kind of Roman tale with this, very kind of specific part of the arc of a man's life, I guess, from where he goes from being a legionnaire to a general. So,
and then if he's going to Britannia, does that mean he gets to sort of square off with all of the barbarian hordes, the Anglos and the Saxons?
Yes, they are our main bad guys. We just call them the barbarians.
Which they absolutely were.
Yeah, the Romans called them barbar and all this kind of stuff.
Now, this is a new direction for Crytek, which obviously Crysis being sort of front of mind, first-person action game, beautiful. I mean, was it sort of new and I guess exciting to try to find what was distinct about a third-person action game versus the first?
Oh, definitely. I mean, one of the great things about our engine is we have highly detailed, very, very near texture resolution. And so it was like, okay, well, third person, how much does that matter? And then you kind of do these tests and you're like, well, actually, it works out really well. We can do things higher detail than other people can because our engine is built for, this high detail. But the main thing was really when we set out to do the project and we decided it was going to be third person, is it had to be cinematic. We hired a director who's held a real camera before. We put in a lot of new technology for Xbox One into facial. So right now, the facial in this cinematic, it's the same facial rig as in-game. And of course, then that brings you to new things. We're like, okay, now that I'm in combat, and Marius has facial, so do the enemies need facial too. And you kind of go down this rabbit hole, but we're Crytek, we do crazy stuff like that. So
yes, it's a very, very pretty game.
Yes.
Now, well, I think what we're seeing here is where, the gameplay is started, so we're getting to the combat. I mean, is it a combo system? I'm still trying to better understand sort of when we saw the button prompts, what that was trying to convey to the player.
So the general idea is we have this thing we call mashing to mastery. So if you want a button to mash, you can play the game and you can kill guys, you can execute them, but the mastery is in the rhythm and the timing. So basically, when you if you come to play it on the show floor, if you hit the A at the right time, you open up the guy for longer, you can execute more attacks on him and stuff like that. Then once you get into this execution mode, which is based on various states, then it brings up these button prompts, and what that does is it gives you an additional bonus to continue the flow of combat. So it's not a QTE. I know a lot of people think it is.
Oh, I was about to say. I mean, the minute you see one of those things on screen,
like, oh my gosh,
goes to
button mash.
That's all it is.
Yeah, but the idea was that we played a lot of third-person games, and when you do an execution, it just became boring, right? Because you would watch a movie play out. So we're like, no, we got this really good flow going. Let's give the players something to do. So here, if you can see, I'm gonna go into an execution. No camera cut. It pulls in, right? And I have this X. We're gonna have over 100 executions, and so each one will have its own kind of little mini bonus game attached to it, which is
now
what it is.
Failure in the button presses. Where does that put the player?
It's just more rewards. So if you imagine, like, if you don't do anything, you get the first level of reward, and if you do like all 3 button prompts right on time, then you get 3 levels higher of reward, basically.
And of course, we are looking at sort of multiple enemies sometimes attacking him.
Yes.
I mean, is it just kind of dynamic? How are you deciding who's going to get the bad end of a sword in the face?
Well, yeah. See, that was the interesting thing is when people watch this, they thought it was super linear, which I mean, it is a tailored kind of cinematic experience. But at the same time, when you play the demo, you go, well, I want to go to the side of the beach and hit this guy. And you do it, and then the AI will automatically kind of come around you and form, this kind of, combat space. So we really want to try to make the game feel as dynamic as possible while keeping it cinematic. I mean, we're Crytek after all.
I was about to say,
yeah.
And of course, I think it brings me to my next point. When it's Crytek, there's one thing that you can be assured of, and that the game will look astonishingly clear. The fidelity is amazing as it is here. To what end, though, are you also using aspects of the Xbox One? Be it the cloud, be it that, how is that feeding into the game? Because this is one of the more traditional style games that I've seen for the next gen console.
Yeah, so one of the kind of key things, or we have 2 key components. First is just like the power of the Xbox One, and the second one is the other things that comes with, right? We got the Kinect, we have smart glass, all that kind of stuff. So basically with the Kinect, as you can see this tower section, right? We have this saying, it's like, with the controller in my hand, I'm the warrior, but with my voice, I'm the general. So here you could see, like, and as I was playing the demo, you could see like these moments come up where you tell the guys, man the catapult, archers cover me, fire. Those will all be Kinect voice commands.
And is that required? I think of, say, like a circumstance where you put the kids to bed and you want to keep them there.
There will always be a button prompt. And actually what we found through prototyping is that having voice running all the time doesn't feel good for core gamers. You want to know when you have to say this line. So it still requires a button prompt.
Okay, that's good. And then in terms of other things other than Kinect, how does that work there with RYSE?
We've got this killer smart glass integration, right, where we can record the DVRs, and we also have this timeline where you can see like your progress. So if you're playing through a level and you like miss a hidden secret, and you're like, I'm a crazy collector, so the game just tells you, hey, there's a secret around here, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go find it. So it's kind of this built-in strategy guide that kind of tells you, your progress. And it's this social aspect where I can see what my friends are doing as well, get these little mini challenges to deal with and stuff like that.
Now, we were just recently speaking with a member of the Forza team.
Yes.
And sort of there's a very clear idea that, when you get Forza, you're getting the beginning of the game. The changes will be happening over time. Is that sort of a similar philosophy? Can we start to see that, if not with RYSE, but with other games that are more kind of character-driven, story-driven action games?
Well, one of the things is we have a multiplayer, which I can't really discuss too much about, but that is our big like live kind of thing. So we have multiplayer, in the Coliseum, gladiators. So if you can just imagine, this is sort of our like online offering, then obviously with the power of the cloud, we'll see how far we can take it. So.
All right, I guess now that how much researches you do sort of into sort of what Rome was? I'm trying to figure out if this is kind of fantasy Rome or this is actual Rome. I'm quite a little buff about that type of history.
So we kind of like try to craft our own mythos, and it was really because, like you said, there's so many awesome periods of Roman history, right? And so what we did is like, well, you really don't know if you're ever going to get to make another Rome game. So we picked the aspects we liked. So it is fictional, but we really tried to do cultural-wise, like we tried to nail it down. So hence the story is a revenge tale. There's a lot of stuff about, like patronage and like, the Populare Party and stuff like that. So I mean, we are definitely Rome buffs as well. We hired a historian. He took a group of our team through parts of Rome that other people aren't allowed to see. We had a Roman weapon historian help us like, develop Marius' fighting style, so yeah.
Yeah, okay, that just sounds like a lot of fun to work on.
It's crazy, right? Like we actually crafted swords. I had a blacksmith make us swords that were the weight of a real gladius. And so our animators could hold it and go, actually, hey, that's why the Romans, could march kilometers with these things, is because it's actually just a very smart weighted weapon. And even Marius, the way he holds his shield, the way he hits, the way he blocks, it's all very, very accurate. So,
all right, maybe it'll inspire a new change in modern warfare. Who knows? Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by. Will RYSE be available at the launch of the Xbox One?
It will be available at launch, yes.
All right, well, great. When we find out what that date is, we'll know. Thank you so much.
Right on. Have a good show. Thank you. Yep.